And they killed that guy right there, and then they tried to salvage this. And the one thing I think that they did with Roman Reigns, which was a bad thing, I understand in the Shield they try to make him look like a badass, but what happened was when he got away from the Shield, he lost all that, and now they're trying to portray him like this badass, like he's so, big threat to everybody, and he's this big dog in the yard and all this stuff, and it's like, no one's buying it because we don't see it in this guy. You can't tell me that he's this big, bad asshole, and then the next minute you're talking about how good looking he is on commentary. Like, you're defeating the purpose you're trying to sell me here. So at this point, I feel like everybody hates John Cena. We've all gotten to the point where, look, we don't like him. Cena knows this. He's aware. He's been aware for maybe 10 years now. John Cena holding a title is not a bad idea right now because I feel like his last run with the U.S. title redeemed him over anything. Roman Reigns cannot be redeemed.
Okay, well, Jason, go ahead, and then Jordan.
Honestly, like I was saying earlier, I'm going to tap out if you have Roman Reigns versus John Cena in a match. I'm going to go to New Japan where I'm going to search for a Great Muta match, and I'm going to put that on instead because, honestly, I could give two fucks about who wins in a Roman Reigns versus John Cena match. It's like, I hate to root for injury, but I probably would. Even with John Cena coming back, it's like if they both got injured, if the ring imploded and fell on both of them, that would be the best case scenario.
Well, at least you're honest about
from
that.
the Harland.
Controversial but honest. That's what we like. So, final segment, final wrap up on it. Jordan, your thoughts?
John Cena coming back. We've seen this guy come back over 20 times. You got to respect what he's accomplished in the wrestling industry, but it comes to that point where it gets repetitive. And if we saw one person who's repetitive in this era and one person who was repetitive right before the era that's now, Roman Reigns and John Cena, it would be like, I couldn't watch that. I'm going to have to agree with Jason on that. I respect John Cena and what he's accomplished in the business, but, seeing him back would be great. A title run would be cool, but bottom line, I don't see him being back for too long. I think he's probably going to hang up the boots within 1 or 2 years.
That sounds about right.
Think about it this way. I'm sorry to cut you off there, Stevie, but look at what John Cena's doing in the movie industry. What's going to happen is Hollywood's going to offer John Cena more money, and he's going to go for the money instead of staying with the WWE. It eventually is going to happen. It's going to be very different. It's going to be an adjustment for many wrestling fans around the world, but the point now is that we all got to prepare for the fact that John Cena is not going to be around for much longer.
I was actually about to say exactly that, so you're very prescient in your comments. I think the fact that we see Cena doing reality shows like American Grit, that we see him hosting the Today Show, that we see that he's going to host the ESPY Awards this year, I think Cena's got a game plan for the future that doesn't involve him taking bumps, and that's going to come sooner than later, which is part of the reason that WWE is so hung up on Roman Reigns, is because they're trying to find the new John Cena. But sad to say, it's not him.
It is not him. I know who it is, though, and it's Funaki. Just kidding.
Well, on that note, Jordan, let's go out with a joke since you already just did. Anything else you want to say before we let you go tonight?
Upcoming interviews on Jordan Garber now on VOCNation.com. Actually, first off, coming next week on AngryMarks.com, an episode of Jordan Garber's World, featuring this very unique wrestling product in Florida, which mixes pro wrestling with theater. Hear from Jason Static, former, he had some appearances in WWE and TNA, of Conquer Pro Wrestling. Hear what it's all about and get the inside scoop. And if you're in the Florida area, check out those shows. Coming up next on Jordan Garber now on VOCNation.com on May the 31st, we have none other than the real last man, Silas Young. And in the following week, we have none other than Leo Rush. And then the week after, possibly Kazarian. So definitely a lot coming up for Jordan Garber with his role in the CWE and other independent promotions within the Midwest and Manitoba. So definitely the sky's the limit for Jordan Garber, and you know what? I'm going to be back each and every week, keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep enjoy doing it, and I want to thank everyone from AngryMarks.com once again, and I will be back next week.
And follow him on Twitter at Jordan J. Garber.
Indeed. Thank you very much, guys. You guys have yourselves a great night.
You too, Jordan. Thanks for calling in. That was Jordan's Corner right here on Thursday Night AMP. Our new name for the segment, I'm going to stick with it. Even if he's calling it Garber's Corner or elsewhere, it's Jordan's Corner here on AMP. So now I'm going to go back to Extreme Rules since Jordan already kicked us off on it. Let's go through the rest of this card, even though I'm guessing that none of us are terribly, terribly excited about it. But nevertheless, it's on Sunday night. 3 weeks after the last WWE pay-per-view, we're already back with another one, and we've got a slew of matches scheduled for it, including Dean Ambrose versus Chris Jericho. Ciara, quick thoughts on that?
I don't know. I don't really like Chris Jericho this run.
You're not the first person on this show to say that. In fact, Abby will thank you since she couldn't be here tonight because Abby is very much not a fan of Chris Jericho right now.
Yeah, where the heck are you? Like, I thought we was going to have some girl-to-girl discussion here.
Well, she was not feeling well tonight, so you're kind of channeling her in her absence.
Yeah, I don't like Jericho this run. And you know, I love Jericho. And I love him every time he comes in for his 4 to 6 months. But, this time, I don't know. It's just, I don't want to say it's time to hang him up. I just feel like this time he was just not as prepared as usual. Like, I don't know. I don't like Jericho in this turn. So I guess I'm going to go for Jericho in this match because I don't see what else they can do with him at this point.
All right, Jason.
Yeah, I'll go a step further, and I'll say Chris Jericho does need to hang it up because he is stale. He is like somebody's dad who is trying to act cool and fails miserably. I'd also like to say when they debuted the Asylum Cage, 2 things came to mind. Raven's Clockwork Orange House of Fun match from TNA and the Chamber of Horrors with Abdullah the Butcher, bringing him back again in that electric chair in WCW. I see Dean Ambrose winning this one just because he did lose to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And you really can't continue to bury Ambrose on pay-per-views, and this is his playground. He lost in his playground to Lesnar where he had weapons and didn't really use them. Now they're in a cage with weapons. This is kind of his home turf, and this is his ball game to win, and he's going to win it.
I'm going to third this. It's time for the feud to end. Dean Ambrose needs to win. Let's move on. Unfortunately, what we move on to is The Miz. But the good news is he's in there with Kevin Owens, Cesaro, and Sami Zayn in a fatal 4-way. Now, nobody is actually a favorite. I checked the odds before I did this show tonight, but the closest to being a favorite is Cesaro as the plus 100 underdog. But the field is a favorite against all 4 of these men, which I don't know what that says to you guys, but it says to me that WWE is not making up their minds on this until Sunday night. So who do you think's going to win? I'll start with Ciara.
I know everybody loves their Cesaro and stuff. I don't blame you. He's very great. But I feel like the underdog in this is Miz. Even though he's the heel, I feel like he's the natural underdog because everybody just hates The Miz. They love to hate The Miz. And I feel like The Miz at this point, I feel like fans should kind of be turning the corner on because if you look at his character and stuff, he does it really well. It's so brilliant. And he's been so good at it for a number of years. And he's only, if you think about it, he's the only guy on the roster out of a few exceptions that have been able to uphold and keep carrying on this character for as many years as he has. He's been carrying on this character since Tough Enough. Tough Enough. And if
he's actually, I'll take it a step further, Ciara. I don't mean to interrupt you, but he is the sole survivor of Tough Enough at this point.
Yeah, and he's kept up this Miz, I'm better than you character since Tough Enough. And if you're like a real OG and remember the real world, he kind of brought out this Miz character on the real world that's better than you. So he's been doing this since 1999, folks. So
this character is older than the 2 Tough Enough reboots they've done.
Yeah.
This character is older than Jordan Garber.
Wow. That's crazy. Wow. But it's just, I don't know. I've never disliked him. I've always liked him, even though his wrestling was not the best. But I think over the years he's gotten better, and I think he's gotten more comfortable what he can do and what he can't do. So I feel like he's the underdog in this. I'm going to go with The Miz retaining. And I like that they brought Maurice back in because I love Maurice.
Okay, before I even give my thoughts on the Maurice involvement in this, to put it nicely, I'm going to go to Jason.
I really like Kevin Owens, number one, just shooting on Maurice in French on commentary. That was brilliant. I love Kevin Owens saying to The Miz, he's the worst one, because that is 1000% shoot. I think Cesaro is the ultimate underdog in this one, but The Miz, I think, is the most overlooked. I don't think he's an underdog. I just think he is overlooked. I also think The Miz is going to hold on to the title because without that title, what are you going to do with him? There's no reason for him to be there. There's no reason to bring Maurice back. When he's got the title, he's got a reason to be out there. As much as he sucks and as much as I hate him, he's got that IC title, and that's a reason for him to come back out every week. Without that title, he has no reason. His gimmick is stale. He's got to keep that title to keep himself relevant.
And that's kind of where I was going with it when I mentioned that I didn't want to rag on Maurice too much, but they really needed her to make him relevant because he was not relevant. That's the sole reason, in my opinion, that she is on the show, aside from the fact that it allows her to segue into being part of the Total Divas cast. I'm sorry, Ciara, I never really liked Maurice to begin with. I always thought she was a useless part of the women's division or Divas division or whatever it was called at the time. And now she's just the distraction for Miz to retain the title because the Miz apparently can't do it on his own. Even though I agree with you that he's actually gotten better as a wrestler over the years, he has no heat except when he has somebody interfering on his behalf. It's like, okay, you're actually competent as a wrestler, but you don't draw heat on your own. You draw heat because you've got Damian Mizdow doing your bidding, or you draw heat because you've got, Maurice doing your bidding, or you draw heat because you're in a tag team with people who are bigger and stronger than you, and you're telling them what to do, like when he was working with the Big Show. Like, that is the whole gimmick with The Miz, is he can't draw heat on his own.
Yeah, but the thing is, he can draw heat on his own. Like, think about it. He's by himself, really, before even Maurice came. And as soon as he comes out there, people just automatically just shit on him. He's a natural he's just a guy you just naturally hate because he's a big shot, but he really doesn't have a big shot. And that's what's always gotten him up. That's what got him the WWE title the first time, because he's one of those guys that come out there and talk a big game, and sometimes he shows you that he can live up to that, and sometimes he doesn't. And
which kind of heat is it, though? Is it the we don't like you because you're a good villain heat, or is it the go away, we don't want to see you X-Pac heat?
I think it's X-Pac heat. When I was tweeting Raw on Monday night, I said, this goes into new levels. I'm like, this is Miz-Pac heat. Because, I would regard him as one of, if not the worst, WWE champion of all time. I mean, that title reign sucked. It had no legs. It drew nobody. It drew no interest. It drew no ratings. It was complete shit.
Well, the title reign didn't go as far as it should have gone because they didn't do anything with him, kind of like what they're doing with Roman Reigns. The build up to that title reign was a beautiful story, the great execution, but what they did with him, like they're doing with Roman Reigns, is that they're relying too much on this kid to get this story over instead of helping him get this story over.
It's kind of the same, too, because they're putting a belt in both cases on a guy that doesn't deserve it.
Well, it's not necessarily a guy that doesn't deserve it. It's a guy that should not got it right at then. Roman Reigns, maybe a couple years from now, might have got the title, but they executed on it so fast. The same thing with The Miz. They did it on The Miz because it was a one hot night, hot sensation, and they just went for it, and then after they went for it, they couldn't come back from it. That's the problem. Same thing with Roman Reigns. They let him win the Royal Rumble, and they couldn't come back from it because they fucked up.
They only see short term, and they don't see the long term. They don't see the repercussions of putting the title on somebody the fans are clearly not behind, and not behind them because they're a good heel, just not behind them because it's not their time. They're not ready. They don't deserve it.
Yeah, it's the same thing they did with Randy Orton back in 2004 when they gave him the title. Yeah, he turned babyface, but what happened? They made him drop it back to Triple H because they didn't know what else to do with the guy. They do this with a lot of guys, and I don't think they realize that ruins a lot of guys before their time begins. I think Roman Reigns, if they had planned this out better, didn't make him win the Rumble, and we got a different total story, I don't think fans would hate him as much as they do right now. Like, I've always think it's crazy that, years ago, everybody was cheering Cena, then all of a sudden we just randomly just started hating him. It's because they told the same story over and over and over and over with him. But with The Miz, I don't think there's anything wrong with the character. I think that he's the only one on the roster that can generate that actual heat from fans that just don't want to see him. And in today's wrestling and on this entertainment soap opera, you need that. You don't need fake boos. You've got too many heels that go out there every night and don't get any reaction from the crowd. And he's one of those heels that
with another heel that's in this match here. Kevin Owens is a guy that the internet smart marks love because he's got a high work rate. He doesn't have the typical body that WWE fans have. Kevin Owens can go out there, and these fans that love him, he does something dastardly, he says something, and just out of instinct, the fans boo him, and then they're like, wait, it's Kevin Owens, and they'll go back to cheering him. But just that organic type of, I'm going to do something, and it's going to get over as a heel, and you're going to boo me. Kevin Owens has that, and it's not that people don't want to see Kevin Owens. People love Kevin Owens. It's just he is able to generate heel heat as a heel as opposed to The Miz, who's generating heat because people want to see him legitimately go away.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. You need somebody that can generate that natural heat that people just want him to go away. That's how it's always been. You want the heel to be hated to where people don't want to see him. It's not that. That's where it's a problem now. Where
I disagree with that. I think with the heel, you don't want to see the heel go away. You want to see the heel get his comeuppance. You want to see the heel get beaten, but you don't want to see the heel go away. You just want to see him lose.
No, I disagree with that because here's the thing. If you're a bad guy and I'm being told the babyface is coming in to save me like a John Cena, I should not be out there cheering Kevin Owens for doing something great or being like, oh my God, he's so great. He's such a great heel. I shouldn't be saying that. I should be against the heel at all times. I should be looking for the babyface to get his comeuppance and beat the heel. That's what's happened to John Cena. Everybody's always cheered for the heels because Cena, they've made him so cheesy. And with The Miz, he's a natural heel where you just don't want to see him, and he generates that natural heel heat. He comes out there, his music hits, everybody boos. Kevin Owens, there's times he comes out there, people cheer him. Nobody should be cheering him. He's a heel.
And people boo him at appropriate times. I'll bring this back to Ric Flair, though. I think a lot of people liked Ric Flair. They didn't want to, back in his heyday. I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about Nature Boy, the bleach blonde hair, the flashy robes with sequins. When he was coming to the ring, it's 16-time champion. During those 16 times, people did not want to see Ric Flair go away. They wanted to see Ric Flair get beat. Be it by Ricky Steamboat, be it by Kerry Von Erich, be it by Harley Race, be it by whoever, they wanted to see Ric Flair lose, but they didn't necessarily want to see him go away.
True. But here's the thing. You need a heel in this match where people just want to see it his ass kicked. And you're not going to get that with Kevin Owens because everybody is just going to want to see him do something great in the ring. They're not going to boo him because he's one of their favorites. Sami Zayn's one of their favorites. Cesaro's one of their favorites. You need a guy that is the complete opposite to balance this thing out. If you don't put that guy in there, The Miz, this thing is going to look ridiculous. It's going to look like a three-way baby faces. If you go by internet standards, it's not going to, it's going to be like, well, who the hell am I supposed to cheer for? Who am I supposed to boo with? And The Miz balances out because you can automatically boo him. You're supposed to boo him. I know I'm supposed to boo him. They don't have to tell me to boo him. I can see him and boo him. That's why I say he's the perfect heel.
Well, I think you both got valid points, so I'm just going to split the hair down the middle and say, let's move on to Kalisto versus Rusev. And here's the interesting fact about this match. They're looking for somebody, they haven't decided who, but they're looking for somebody to partner with Kalisto to be his equivalent of Lana so they can do mixed tag matches. Now, knowing that going into this match, who do you think wins? Does Kalisto retain or does Rusev get the title? Ciara, I start with you.
I'm going to say Kalisto retains in this. And when it comes to the woman, I know a lot of people are sitting up hollering about Sarah Stock. I don't see that happening at all. I would say they will probably throw like maybe Becky Lynch or somebody in this for this mixed tag team match. I don't think it's going to be something that goes on long. Or Summer Rae. Because, her and Lana have a thing.
Yeah, that actually makes the most sense. I'm going to say Rusev winning actually gets more heat on the program, though, because if you're going to partner somebody with Kalisto, it's got to be for revenge. Like, I got beat because it was 2-on-1. Now I need to even the odds. Jason, what do you think?
I'm finally starting to fall off of the Kalisto bandwagon, and I think it's time for him to lose this U.S. title, and I think Rusev is the perfect guy to pick it up. Seeing him lawn dart Kalisto on Monday Night Raw was just so satisfying. It's just like, yes, this is what a big guy should do with a little guy like this. As far as who you want to pair Kalisto with, well, if you can spare that $10 for the Skype call, Shelly Martinez, line one.
No, I do not need Shelly Martinez. I had enough of her when she was in ECW. I had enough of her when she was in TNA. I had enough of her at Knockouts Knockdown. No. Please, no. Just no. We'll move on from that. The match that we're all hyped about because it was the go-home segment of Raw this week. Charlotte and Natalya in a submission match. Pinfalls do not count. No disqualifications. Only a submission can win. You would think that would favor Natalya, but I have a feeling Charlotte will retain. What do you say, Ciara?
I'm definitely going with Charlotte retaining in this one, and I feel like this is going to lead to another match between those two. I don't think that this feud is done anytime soon, and I don't know if you guys seen those rumors going around about reports of that there is possibly a top female leaving the roster sometime soon.
Yes,
And
I've seen those reports. Everybody thought it was Lillian Garcia for a little bit.
yeah, well, I don't think it has nothing to do with Lillian, since we all found out that she still got her job. Okay, girl. But I have a real feeling that it's Natalya. And I don't know what it is, but the past couple times I watched Total Divas and stuff, she's been talking about winding down, or the company kind of forcing her into this nutshell of where they're going to wind her down without her wanting to stop wrestling. And that's kind of like where she's been the last couple times we haven't seen her. It's one, she had injury, and then two, they kind of pulled her off television. And I feel like after this feud is done, she might be the one leaving, because if you think about it, the Bella Twins, one's injured, one's retired. There's really nobody else that's a long-time performer on that roster besides Alicia Fox or Rosa Mendez, who just had a baby. That would be a big departure to that roster right now, besides Natalya.
And another reason I think it makes sense is because she probably feels bad that she can get in there and do stuff, and Teddy Hart what did I say, Teddy Hart? That's not who I meant.
I was about to say, whoa, Jesus, no.
I meant TJ Wilson, sorry. You know who I was trying to say. My point is, he can't ever wrestle again, so she probably feels a little bit guilty right now that she can get in there and he can't.
Yeah, and I think it's probably that. And then on top of that, if she was to walk out of the company today or tomorrow, she's had a long career in wrestling outside WWE. She's went to Japan. She's been down Mexico and everywhere. She's wrestled pretty much everywhere you could think of, she's been. So this going out on this feud would be a good way to, bring it full circle, because if you think about it, this is kind of how Charlotte won the title against Natalya. She put her over, and that, that match was, talked about for a long time as one of the greatest women's matches. And this would be a great way to bring it all full circle that, hey, you gave me one of my greatest matches. Now I'm probably going to have one of my greatest and best feuds of my career right now. So, yeah, I'm going to go.
I agree with you, but I almost feel sad about it because I've been a fan of Natty for so many years now that it feels like she's always the setup person to put somebody else over. And I know that proves that she's great, because in history of professional wrestling, you always need somebody that's great at putting other people over to make them look great.
Yeah.
We're going to recognize her for that. She's going to be a Hall of Famer for that. But damn it if it wouldn't be nice to have her get one more title run before she quits.
Yeah, I would love to see her with a title reign before, if this is true about somebody leaving as she was to leave. I would love to see that, but at the same time, I feel like if she was to leave and this is going to be our last, walkout, I feel like she did what she's supposed to. She's put over a lot of people in that company. She didn't just put over Charlotte. She's put over both Bella Twins, Beth Phoenix, Victoria, Michelle McCool, like the list goes on and on how many women on that roster that came and gone that she's put over. Even going back to developmental days, she's helped train a lot of women on that roster, the Bella twins being one of the few that she's trained. She's helped a lot of women and she's done her due diligence, and I wouldn't be shocked if she was departure, but I hope she gets a better send-off than Victoria.
Right. If we're going to give her the send-off, let's give her the Trish Stratus send-off. Not necessarily that she has to win the title and then retire immediately, but let's at least give her the same level of respect that Trish got.
Or like how they did Brie Bella at the WrestleMania. She got to win, and then all the girls hoisted her up at the end. I thought that was a beautiful moment because it just felt like, you're seeing all her peers, the girls that she came up with, hoisting her up saying, like, this is your last hurrah.
Oh, okay. I have to admit something to you, Ciara, because you haven't been on the show for a while. When that match was taking place, I was down in the concession stand getting nachos. I was in the AT&T Stadium getting food. I was getting nachos and a barbecue sandwich for my wife. I missed the entire thing. I still haven't gone back on the network to watch it.
It was a great match. Everybody thought it was going to be a clusterfuck, but it was actually a good match with that many women in the ring, and just the storytelling that was involved in it and how they did the ending sequence, how Brie Bella transitioned into that LaBelle lock. That was gorgeous. And yeah, that was really great way to send off. And I hope if that is the case with Natalya, that they do the same thing with her. I don't need no cheesy, sad promo, make me cry, nothing like that. Just give me that one good feel moment in the ring where I could just sit there and be like, thank you. And that's what I thought with Brie Bella. I said, thank you. Because, wow.
All right, well, you're making me want to go back and watch that on the network now and see what I missed. But
see, you should. It was good.
All right, well, before I do that, let's get Jason's thoughts.
I've said this ever since WrestleMania, maybe even a little bit before. There's only one of two women that I can see Charlotte dropping the women's title to. One is Sasha Banks, which may happen at SummerSlam. The other is Bayley whenever she gets called up from NXT to the main roster. I see Charlotte going over here. I can even see some chicanery here with a ref bump. Ref is knocked out cold. Ric Flair comes to the ring, interferes, leaves before the referee sees it because, fuck continuity and the fact that Shane and Stephanie said he couldn't do it. The WWE has never had anybody reviewing tapes of anything that goes on since way back in the day with, what's his name, Commissioner, I forget. But yeah, Charlotte is going to win this one, and it wouldn't surprise me if there was a ref bump and Ric Flair shows up.
All right. I'll accept that. I'll move on from that then to the New Day and the Vaudevillains. And Jason, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Number one, I got to say on Raw, one of my favorite segments I've seen on Raw in a long time was that time machine where Kofi Kingston got to do his fake and Jamaican thing again. That was great, hearing the fake and Jamaican accent in his music, and that was great. Yeah, I don't see the Vaudevillains winning here because if they do, where do you go from here? The New Day is kind of a juggernaut right now, and you've got to keep the titles on them. The Vaudevillains have just come up. It's too soon for them to have a title run, and I don't see the titles coming off a New Day.
See, I hate to disagree with you because everything you said makes 10,000% sense, and yet I get this feeling that because the Vaudevillains have been so shit upon by all the wrestling critics out there saying that this is a small potatoes gimmick, this only works in front of 500 people in NXT. These guys don't deserve where they're at right now. It should be Enzo and Big Cass and not them. And everybody just decrying them and hating them. I just see Vince McMahon rubbing his hands together going, oh, this is great. The Vaudevillains have heat. I'm going to put them over the New Day. Everybody loves the New Day, and they'll get major heat for beating them.
The Roman Reigns style of booking.
Exactly. Ciara, what do you think?
And I have to agree with you there, Stevie, that it all goes back to The Miz. Natural heel heat. Like, not every gimmick and tag team in this division is supposed to be liked. And I understand everybody wants to see Enzo and Cass get in there with the New Day, but I feel like so many times us fans in the past couple of years, we've shot our cannon load too fast and wanted these matches so fast, and then when they happened, we're either dissatisfied or sitting there going, I want it more. Like, we can wait for that. And it's so early. We got to get the Vaudevillains. And that thing with the wrestling critics and stuff like that, with quotes around it, with the 500 people thing, Yeah, I think that some people need to get their heads out their asses and understand that not all gimmicks on television are going to be the greatest and the best presentation. It kind of goes back with Primo and Epico, that there's going to be these cheesy gimmicks. Like, I feel like some fans skipped over 90s wrestling, tag team wrestling, and forgot how many bad tag teams we had with the cheesiest and horrible gimmicks. But hey, you turn on WCW, those terrible gimmicks would be in the ring giving us a great ass match, and that kind of cuts off their capabilities as guys giving us a good match. Like, yeah, the gimmick is kind of different. I think it's actually hilarious that, like, you got these traditionalists and they're kind of stuck in this time warp where everybody else has progressed and became hip to it, and they're just like, no, we want to stick to our old ways. Kind of like Thunder Kitty on the Indies, where she's wearing the whole cat suit and she has her hair pinned up and stuff. Like, she's still stuck back in that time when, you know, there was women grapplers.
Yeah, she's like straight out of the 1950s. Like, she's Mildred Burke in the modern day.
Yeah, she's like, you know, she hung out with Moolah and them. Like, she's still stuck in that mind frame where the rest of the girls are walking around with, you know, their short shorts and they got the belly hanging out and all that stuff. She's not with that. She's with the walking out there with the flower in her hair, staying traditional to her roots and coming up as a real grappler. Like, I think we need those type of gimmicks going on. It's kind of cool. So I'm going to go with the New Day. I am not as high on the New Day as everybody else is. Yeah.
Okay, well, now, actually, before you move on, I want to get your thoughts on that, because this has been a very contentious point among a lot of my friends, is I've seen two completely divergent points, and I've written about this myself in an editorial, and I took the stance that when the New Day debuted, they were a terrible caricature of black church life, and it was doomed to fail at that very point. But then, organically, they started getting heat on their own for being smug, for being complete tools that just only did things to entertain themselves. And then suddenly the fans started getting into it because they thought it was funny, and they just gravitated towards the fact that these guys were goofing off and entertaining each other. So they got over by completely ignoring the gimmick WWE gave them and reinventing themselves. But a lot of people that I see criticizing them say this is buffoonery, chicanery, and forgive me for using the language, I'm using the language their critics are using, Uncle Tomming it up on television. So, Ciara, how do you take what the New Day do?
Well, I wouldn't say they're Uncle Tomming it up. Whoever said it, god damn. Like, taking us really back. Like, jeez. I think we've came a long way from that, man. I think they're out there saw shoeing or something. Like, god damn.
Well, that's what some of their critics are saying, is that they're just going out there acting like clowns to please the master. That's what people are criticizing them for.
I just feel like the Jefferson's episode where he called the cousin Uncle Tom, I just feel like that's just popping in my head. Like, golly. Like, I think we've gotten past that, folks. No, with me, it's I feel like when they first came out there, I remember when they first debuted and they was doing this whole gimmick where they were in the church and stuff, and I was just like, this works so well for Brother Devon. And they've gotten away from that, and you can kind of tell that they're putting their own spin on it and stuff like that. And some of the jokes is like, ha ha, hee hee, but it's not like ha 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 ha, to where I don't understand where so many people are gravitating towards it, because when I watched it on television, and I love Kofi Kingston. I've been a fan of his since he first debuted. But when I watch it, the first thing that pops in my mind is that this is all inside jokes that they do in a car, and we're all not supposed to be hearing these jokes. And people are laughing at this because they find it funny, but it's inside jokes, and a lot of it you kind of don't get. Like, I just feel like a lot of it is just so childlike. It's so juvenile jokes, and it's weird to me because I said to somebody a couple weeks ago, if you guys find some of these jokes that they say funny and it's really childlike jokes, how come you guys crack on Cena so much? If you think about it, they're kind of just as corny.
Yeah, there's a definite similarity.
Bootios.
Yeah, And in fact, I'll go you one further, given the fact that Cena had a rapper gimmick for a while, it kind of strikes me that they might actually be doing Cena from like 2005.
Yeah, it's funny because like I said, they make such bad jokes, Bootios, and everybody always makes fun of Cena with the cereal and stuff like that, and that's just like, well, he's the face of the company, he's supposed to be plastered on cereals and stuff, and the jokes and stuff that they've after a while started writing for him was really bad, and when he first debuted, the stuff he was saying in his rhymes, does anybody remember how bad his rhymes were? Like, really. Yeah. Bad. And
yes. I remember his best line ever was when he told The Rock he could blow me and held up a pinwheel. That was like the pinnacle of John Cena's rhymes.
Yeah, like, does anybody remember that time when Kurt Angle sunned him in a freestyle battle on SmackDown? Like, that was the holy mecca of cheesiness. Like, even Kurt Angle made him look bad. And when I see the New Day, I think of stuff like that when they gave guys bad gimmicks like that. Like, stuff that we're not supposed to actually like, but I don't know what it is. Like, the unicorn horns, I still haven't figured out what the fuck that is.
I think we're just supposed to imply that they're magical and powerful, just like rare and magical unicorns are. Both mythical creatures, both somehow real in wrestling.
Yeah, it's weird. I haven't figured that out. Like, the only thing I give them, and that they've found a good thing with, is Big E, because he is big and awkward. He is the most awkward man I've ever seen in my life. He is goofy. Like,
so actually kind of being a big goofy nerd actually works for him.
Yeah, like, it really comes off, and it really works for him, and he is strange. Like, there is no covering that up. And, like, when I see him, I always think, like, I can't believe they made him serious that one time. Like, it's just the complete opposite. And they found it with that, but it's just the skipping down the ramp, and, yeah, I just don't get them. I don't get them.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question that only because you're on this podcast, I can ask you, because I couldn't ask this of anybody else. Do you think they get away with being goofballs and Cena doesn't because they're black?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. A lot of people like it when the black guys are funny. Mm-hmm. That is true. I mean, everybody likes it when you kind of make a Chris Rock joke. Everybody likes it when you kind of compare yourself to Martin Lawrence, or you kind of act silly like Dave Chappelle. Everybody likes that. But I don't know. I feel like they get away with it too, because I feel like it's the internet's fascination with them has helped them get away with it. But I feel like if the internet had tuned out on them a long time ago and stayed tuned out on them, that they would not get the reaction that they do. I feel like they would be in Miz territory, where so everybody would just...
Yeah, they're just the internet darlings right now, is what you're saying. I
feel like eventually, like, when people actually get tired of him, like John Cena, and the sad thing with John Cena is that, I hate blaming things on the internet, but I remember there being a time where almost everybody was wearing a Cena shirt. And
I've got Cena shirts. I'm not going to pretend I don't. I've got Cena shirts in the closet.
And then I remember...
Way in the closet.
Okay, this is not an R. Kelly discussion. This is about the New Day.
Yeah, and then there just became, I want to say around like 2007, 2008, where the internet's voice really got loud. And out of nowhere, it was just like overnight, everybody just hated him. And it was just like, whoa, when did we get to this? Like, we were just cheering this guy. Like, when did we get to this territory? And I feel like that can happen to them eventually, like, where fans will actually get tired, especially when Enzo and Cass really take off. They're not going to really think about the New Day. Enzo and Cass take off, then if we have Finn Balor come up and join the club, they need to figure out a new name. That is terrible. The Club.
Well, they're only doing that because the Bullet Club is trademarked, and they're trying to haha be clever about it. Like, it's the club, but we're really saying the Bullet Club, but we're really not.
Oh, come on! Somebody in creative needs to be fired over that, because that is beyond lazy booking. That is beyond lazy writing. That is, I don't even have a word for that. How lazy that is.
Like, it just feels like It feels like you could just put any word or name in front of it, and it could be any type of club, like Babysitter's Club.
Social club.
You know,
Evening club. You're going out for the night, and you're taking your lady on the town. You're going to the evening club.
just Black and White Club, just like something just so random, like Bologna and Cheese Club, like just something terrible.
Or 50 Cent. You could probably in the club.
That's what I think of every time.
Can I steer this back to the New Day for a second here, though? One thing I want to say with the New Day is, as somebody like myself who does not like sports entertainment, I'm the New Japan guy. I like watching strong style matches. I like watching hardcore ECW stuff. But since I started watching WWE a year ago, consistently what I have found entertaining has been the New Day. And I think the reason is because, as Stevie said, they get over organically. They're not being fed through a headset what to say. They're going out there and they're cutting their own promos. And I kind of think that's where you have to draw the divide between the New Day and John Cena. The New Day is getting over in spite of Vince McMahon. They're getting over on their own, where John Cena, got over because Vince McMahon pushed him to the moon and he's kind of the corporate shill, where the New Day is kind of the anti-corporate shill, doing their thing and getting over in spite of it.
Well, it's that, but at the same time, there was a time when John Cena was getting over organically, going out there and cutting his promos and stuff, but there's a thing called when the money kicked in on Cena and he became this big investment, that's when the control happened. That's when his promos and stuff changed. Like, if you go back and look at his stuff from 2003 and then go look at his stuff from 2006, you see a dramatic change. And that's because he became this big money sensation. And I feel like with the New Day, when WWE really starts making money off of them, those promos that everybody thinks that they're coming up with and stuff, like, I feel like when I watch it, I feel like somebody's written it for him because it's just so hokey. And I just feel like
Michael Hayes is the guy that's writing a lot of their
Oh, God,
material.
perfectly. There we go.
How did I know that was going to set you off? How did I know?
Like, just there we go. There we go. Like,
the one white guy in the company other than John Cena who probably thinks he's black. Michael P.S. Hayes.
Yeah, like, just randomly. But I mean, like, he's kind of have a sense of humor, but it's just some of it I just feel like it's car talk, like when they're traveling to shows, and we shouldn't be hearing this. Like, bad jokes. Like, could you just imagine me and, like, one of my best friends going out there and doing, like, inside jokes the whole time on Raw, and everybody else just laughing because they feel like it's funny, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, no, that was really not funny. Like, that's how it feels.
Like you're saying something evil about some girl you know that you really don't like, and everybody starts laughing. You're like, no, she's a bitch. I was trying to tell you I hate her.
Yeah, like, it's just, that's why I just feel like I don't get why everybody else is so crazy about one but hate the other when they're both kind of just as bad in their comedy rights. Like, I still haven't forgave Steven for calling Sheamus with the ketchup hairdo. Like, I still haven't. And I feel like one day we're going to get the New Day saying something just as bad as that to Enzo or Cass or the Dudleys or something, and we're all going to be like, yeah, this boat has stopped here.
As you pointed out, though, when the money comes in, things change. Because
Yeah.
right now, everybody loves Enzo because he goes out there and comes up with his own lines and he says funny things to people. Like, in the middle of his promo with the Dudley Boys, he looks at D-Money and he goes, fall back like your hairline. And people pop for that. But the minute they're making they're cashing in and making big money, like big cash, and it's 7 feet tall, and you can't teach that, and they're getting all kinds of money from that, then the script writers are going to come in and say, okay, you're making money, so say this, and we'll put it on a T-shirt, and we'll sell it.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. It's going to go from what we actually love to something we don't like. Like, they've done it to so many guys. Like, it's like, think about it, Zack Ryder. He had his YouTube channel. You remember a long time ago, that was a big debate on air. And I'm still against Zack Ryder. Nobody's going to turn the corner on that one for me. But think about it. He was getting over and getting people to actually say, you know, that Zack Ryder really has something about him. And guess what happened? You see how many views and stuff he was getting, so much attention? They started throwing their money at him. And guess what happened? He shut down his channel. Like, that happens to guys. Like, they can be creative on their own for so long until they start saying, like, you know what, we need to put money behind it. It's the same thing I say with Sasha Banks. She's great in the ring. That's something they can't take from her. She's great on promo. That's something they can't take from her. But when they start really writing her promos and start boxing her in, the thing that we love about her is going to be gone.
So I guess the bottom line on all of this is if you want to be a star and come up with your own material and be original and make money without having somebody tell you what to say to make money, do what Jay Lethal is doing. Go and do it in Ring of Honor and be the champion in some other promotion for 15, 18 months where everybody on the internet can love you without somebody telling you what to say.
Yeah. Gotta love Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal is his ability just to stay relevant and not signing with WWE is amazing. Like,
and you know what? I absolutely popped for this when I watched the Edge and Christian show a couple of weeks ago, and they had people in the crowd asking questions of Edge and Christian, and one of them was wearing a Jay Lethal shirt, although it was a hand-drawn, crudely written Jay Lethal, and he had his arms over it so you could only see like the AY and the AL. But you knew it was a Jay Lethal shirt. And I popped for that just because of the fact that it's like, this is why Edge and Christian are funny, because they get away with these things that nobody else in the company would.
oh man. I just never thought that he'd still be signed with Ring of Honor. Like, I figure around this time of year, we'd probably be seeing him showing up at TakeOver, but I guess not.
I feel like at this point, Jay Lethal is going the AJ Styles route, where he's going to be the greatest wrestler not in WWE for his entire career, and then at the tail end of his career, he's going to come in for a year or two.
Yeah, like Sting and then get in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. I see that for Jay Lethal, and he's making so much money on the independents, then why would he? I mean, as long as he's the Ring of Honor champion, as long as he can go everywhere and be respected as one of the best wrestlers on the independent scene today, he doesn't need WWE. He's making money.
I would say even when ROH dries up, if he wants to go to New Japan, I would say that door is open with him, especially with his relationship with Naito and Los Ingobernables.
In fact,
He has options that are not WWE, and that's a wonderful thing.
If Samoa Joe proved anything to us, it's that the longer you are champion in Ring of Honor, the more options you have down the road. Go ahead, Ciara.
And then on top of that, another thing Samoa Joe proved that even when you're not champion and you're just a fucking boss in the ring, anybody will come for you. Anybody. Think about it. Samoa Joe, like, this is a guy that everybody was saying that should have been signed like years ago. And he just got signed. Like, think about it. Like, we all were probably thinking that, like, maybe he would have quit a long time ago. But no, like, he's still that great in the ring, and they still was after him. And now he's got signed, and we're seeing more of his greatness on NXT. And I never thought I would see this day. Same thing with AJ Styles. Worked in TNA all those years, and then he went over to Japan and became, like, a whole nother AJ Styles, and then he gets signed out of nowhere. Like, never thought I would see that. Eric Young.
Eric Young's not in NXT yet.
Yeah,
He's
but still.
I know. Just the fact that he and Samoa Joe main evented NXT, it was like, oh my god, is this TNA when it was actually good? Is this like TNA circa 2007? What the hell?
It's like they watched TNA back in the day and was just like, let's just fuck with Dixie. Get everybody that she lost out on. Like Bobby Roode, he's not there yet, but that's another guy that's great in the ring and should be over in Japan too. I feel like there's a lot of guys that can benefit from Japan, and it's done wonders for AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson. Carl Anderson, for like a number of years, you hadn't seen him, and he's a great performer, and now look where they're at.
Yeah, although I think Jason would argue that they could be better used than they have been in WWE since they've been brought over.
Yeah, true. That 50-50 booking is going nowhere fast.
Yeah, it's not. I don't like what they're doing with them in the company, but I just never thought that they would even bring back Gallows again. Like,
I keep saying on this show they've forgotten he was Festus. That's the only reason it works. There's nobody on the writing staff who remembers that. They're lucky for that.
I don't even think Vince knows.
But Antonio Inoki knows. Remember he came out to tore up that damn building for that match he had?
Yeah.
That was like when he first went to Japan. I never forget that. Inoki was not having it that night. He was like, everybody has several seats. Mind you, he's throwing the chairs around. What are you doing, dude? How can we sit down?
Yeah, there's no chairs left. But since we've already brought up New Japan and we've already talked about every match on Extreme Rules, let's just go ahead and segue to New Japan to wrap up the show, because I know Jason had a few things he wanted to say.